Senate Republicans are having a press conference on this immigration supplemental bill, as well as money for Ukraine and Israel. Mitch McConnell saying moments ago he doesn't see any path forward for this. Let's listen in here to Shelley Moore Capito.
Well, we weren't here on Groundhog Day, but I was having some Jimmy Carter flashbacks on Groundhog Day, because you start looking at the numbers. Joe Biden's approval numbers are now the worst of any president, even Jimmy Carter. In fact, you have to go back 75 years to find a president with lower approval numbers. NBC had him at 37% this past week, Gallup at 39%. You step back and look at why. Why have the American people weighed in on this presidency in a very significant way, giving him the lowest marks of any president at this time, his administration, in 75 years? Look, President Biden inherited a secure border. The numbers, as was pointed out earlier, were in pretty good shape. He made it worse on day one. This is cause and effect. It wasn't like he inherited a crisis on the southern border. He inherited numbers that were some of the lowest we'd seen in many, many years. He made it worse by reversing policies that President Trump put in place. Streaming illegals coming across, of course, the terror threat to our country. We've talked about it here almost every week. He inherited record job growth, record job increases, record wage increases. He made it worse working with Senate Democrats, unleashing a massive $1.9 trillion stimulus bill in early 23 at a time when we knew darn well this was going to create problems for this economy. He inherited a Middle East that was pretty quiet, thanks in large part to President Trump and the Abraham Accords, which have kind of been forgotten about. He's made it worse with his disastrous Afghanistan pullout, the spy balloon fiasco, projecting American weakness. The result, tragically, we had dead Americans in Afghanistan, and most recently an Iranian drone strike that killed 3. Let's be clear, President Biden's not up to the job. Our Senate Democrats have been complicit in that regard, but the American people are smart. They recognize incompetency when they see it, hence Biden leading the race to the bottom on approval ratings.
Senator Ted Cruz had a press conference around noon today, said that you shouldn't have even tried to negotiate with Democrats, said this bill was designed to fail, and that it's time for you to step down as GOP leader. What's your response to that?
I think we can all agree that Senator Cruz is not a fan.
Leader McConnell, the president came out and he pointedly put the blame on Donald Trump. He said it is Donald Trump is to blame for the failure of this bill. Was Trump's opposition too much for you to overcome?
Well, I've said repeatedly every month I'm not going to get into comments about the race for the presidency among Republicans. I think in the end, even though the product was approved by the Border Council that endorsed President Trump, most of our members feel that we're not going to be able to make a law here. And if we're not going to be able to make a law, they're reluctant to go forward. There are other parts of this supplemental that are extremely important as well. Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan. We still, in my view, ought to tackle the rest of it because it's important. Not that the border isn't important, but we can't get an outcome. So that's where I think we ought to head. It's up to Senator Schumer to decide how to repackage this if, in fact, we don't go on to it.
Leader McConnell, you know, Senator Schumer says that he worked extensively with you on this package. What do you say to your colleagues who said that you misread your conference in helping to craft this border provisions?
I followed the instructions of my conference, who were insisting that we tackle this in October. I mean, it's actually our side that wanted to tackle the border issue. We started it. obviously, with a Democratic president and a Democratic Senate, our negotiators had to deal with them. And James Langford, under those situations, did a remarkable job to pick off the Border Council, which supported President Trump. Certainly underscores that it was a quality product that that particular union felt would make progress toward making things better. But as I said earlier, things have changed over the last 4 months, and it's been made perfectly clear by the Speaker that he wouldn't take it up even if we sent it to him. And so I think that's probably why most of our members think we ought to have opposition tomorrow. We'll see. And then move on with the rest of the supplement.